Many people have been wondering, what is Cycle.Host, and why are so many development teams switching their cloud development to Cycle.Host? You'll understand in the next few minutes as I demo the power of the Cycle.Host cloud platform. First, what is Cycle.Host? Simply put, it's the automation of best practice. This platform hosts the entire development cycle. From idea to deployment, Cycle.Host automatically manages your environment, giving your team more time to focus on the most important aspect of software development, and that's innovation. Before this quick demo, think of the way you develop software today. If you had a plan for a new software application, how would you get started? And how long would it take to plan, configure, and set up your entire development environment before you ever start coding? During development, most teams weave together a tapestry of third-party products for agile management, source code repositories, servers, builds, deployments, and more, resulting in this incredibly intricate web of integration that must be managed by the team. I've seen as much as 50% of a development team's time wasted managing this web of integration. Now let's look at Cycle.Host. Cycle.Host revolves around one thing: the environment. The environment contains everything you need to develop software with less effort. Now, this demo is meant to be like a rock skipping across a lake. We're only going to touch on a few specific points, but keep in mind there is a large configurable system below the surface. Now, an environment starts with the domain. And in this case, we're actually going to register a new domain. Has all of the options for domain management. And that domain has been purchased. Now, once a domain is purchased, it is property of that account. And this list will show every domain that has been either created for this account or transferred in from another registrar. So we're going to use this new domain to actually create an environment. Now, whether you're hosting a small website or a large full-scale cloud enterprise solution, Cycle.Host has what you need. Now, if you're going to select a cloud enterprise solution, you can select these from a list of templates that allows you to easily set up the environment with a base level of code that you need to get started. Now, this environment has been created. Notice the black bar. That's an indication that the environment is not online. Obviously, it's being set up behind the scenes. So while this is being set up, let's take a brief overview of what this environment contains. What actually happened as we were creating this environment? This environment, as we can see from the green line now, is completely online and ready for development. It has been created. Now, in this case, a source code repository was created and linked to this environment so that you can go in, and we'll show in further demos, you can go in and actually connect to that repository using any Git system you want on any computer and be able to commit code into this environment instantly. Now, as I said, you can start with a clean repository, which is what we did right now, or you can use a remote repository of code you already have. Whatever you need, Cycle.Host has. So, here is our environment. There are a lot of options here. When we set up this environment, we set it up as a cloud enterprise solution. That means that we can have the ability to add as many nodes into this environment cluster as we want. Now, right now, we only have one node in this environment. But as you can see, we can track our load. It's still setting it up. We can track our load, and we can add nodes or remove nodes as needed. Now, every time you add a node, it's going to decrease your load, and every time you take a node out, it will increase your load. The load is a calculation of all the nodes combined. Now, these nodes span across multiple data centers, so you could lose half your nodes, and your end result and your end client will never even know. That's the power of Cycle.Host. Now, there are a lot of other options for security. By default, every single environment created is created with basic authentication turned on. Now, this just makes sure that no one is accessing your environment without you allowing them to. Now, you can easily create a certificate, assign certificates. It's all instant. Let's see what happens when we deploy this environment. As you can see, the first thing that happens is this basic authentication. Now, the username and password to this is your Cycle.Host username and password. Anyone who has been invited to be a part of this environment has a username and password into this by default. Now, you can configure that however you want. Let's cancel that and move over and turn off our basic authentication. Now, with basic authentication off, we can deploy our application and see it working instantly. That is the power of Cycle.Host. This isn't just a website being hosted. This is a very advanced piece of software running in the background, ready for deployments, ready for releases, ready for automated testing. And all of that is going to be demoed in the next videos. So keep in mind, Cycle.Host. After watching these demos, you are going to want to redefine your definition of done.